Okay, guys, how are you? Good afternoon.
Present.
Yeah, present. Okay. Thank you, Jay, and everybody for getting this together. Do you all want to start with the minutes? Since you, I'm sure you've read them while
We
you were all
both
waiting
here.
on me.
We both here. Okay, I move approval of our minutes of 9/3, which is September 3rd.
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, appointment to the DeKalb County Service Board. Hey, how are you? I'm good, how are you? Thank you for coming. Let me get your documentation here. So interim CEMA is nominating you to the Community Service Board, and this is to fill the unexpired term for CO Hollis. We appreciate you coming today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, and then your interest in the Community Service Board.
My name is Alicia Quintine. I've been a citizen of DeKalb County for about 10 years now. I'm married and I have a little girl that's 4. I'm from Chicago originally. I've been in the Atlanta area. Pardon me?
Bad sign already.
Just ignore him.
Nothing else. I've been in the Atlanta, Georgia area about 15 years now. I have a healthcare background, healthcare IT, doing implementations, project management, resource management for about 10, 12 years now. The reason that I'm interested in serving on the DeKalb County Community Service Board is because I have a close friend of mine that came to me looking for some assistance and was going through a trying time in her life. I did some research. I didn't know about the Community Service Board, and I directed her to the Community Service Board, and she was able to get some assistance through the time that she was struggling with. Also, I have a brother that's 8 years older than I am that suffers from schizophrenia, and my mother was a psychiatric nurse. So it's a cause that's very important to me. I think within our community, it's more silent than in others. People think that because you can't see it or you can't necessarily have a diagnosis like cancer and get the kind of empathy you get around it. I want to be a part of educating others about it, being able to help with the services and use my business background and the strategic piece of it to be able to grow the organization and make sure that the citizens are aware of the services that they provide. Or I can say that we provide now.
I appreciate that. Commissioners, did you have questions other than Commissioner Watson? I'm not listening to you, sir.
I just said Chicago.
I'm teasing.
I would like to say again, the Bears.
Oh, I'm abstaining. I'm abstaining.
Thank you for your sense of
Not
humor.
very good.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yes, sir.
And I guess this indicates that you would be filling one of the appointments associated with a family member of a consumer. Is that probably the best fit for your...
No, my brother doesn't live here anymore, so I wouldn't say he's a consumer at this time. I don't remember what the options were, but
Yeah,
I
Consumer
said
Disability Services, Child Psychiatrist, Family Member, Advocate for Disability Services, that might be it.
I think she falls under that category because I'm familiar
Yes.
with Hollis,
Okay.
with Mr. Hollis. So
Okay.
yeah, if you have a family member, it'd have to be in the state. I
Okay.
used to be the analyst for Community Service Board. That's how I know that.
Okay. Well, I think it's important to sort of wear that coat, so to speak, because obviously many of the members are there representing other areas of expertise or interest, and so as a advocate for, and I think that sort of goes to the experience with your friend also, is that
Yes.
you became aware, and then, have you ever been on this type of a governing board in the
No,
past?
I haven't. This will be my first experience.
Okay, do you serve on any other professional associations or other?
I'm active with other professional organizations.
Okay, any other questions?
Good.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your willingness to serve.
Thank you. So I'm being excused now.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Would you all like to make any kind of a motion?
I'm ready at the proper time.
Okay.
We make a motion to accept the appointment of Ms. Elisa, is it Quintine, to the Community Service Board.
Yeah, I would also second that motion to endorse her appointment.
Okay,
Yes.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank y'all.
Excellent.
We'll move on now to the ordinance, Commissioner, that you've introduced.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This is the ordinance that I've been dealing with for about 6 months now. And this is actually a substitute because there was one other thing that we wanted to add. This actually ordinance is an ordinance that proposes employee organizations. It originated from sanitation, but actually would cover any employee or employer that would actually like to organize. We gave a snapshot to everybody. Everybody got a shot at it? Ms. Bramley, did you get that? You get that? Did you get
The
that?
summary?
The summary, you get the summary? Okay. Everybody got something? You got a summary? And I think in the summary just kind of outlines what we're trying to get done. It actually changes one thing in this substitute, and that was section 2011. We wanted to add representation of eligible employees in the merit system hearing. This employer organization activities during scheduled work hours, the things that we changed, and I have those in a red line if you want to look at those. But basically, the summary emphasizes what we're trying to accomplish. Prohibits discrimination or retaliation against an eligible employee for joining or choosing not to join an employer organization. Provide for an executive assistant to choose a human resource department representative to serve as the county's designated representative to meet with employee organization. Provide for the county's designated representative to meet with employer organizations to have requested meeting with the county and to receive input, and therefore exactly deals with the collective bargaining part of this resolution. Permits a representative employee organization representing an eligible employee in the merit system disciplinary hearing to the extent that written procedure for merit system hearing permits and provided for this particular resolution. Provides an eligible employee who wants to spend scheduled work time on employer organization activities to be able to do that and to request time off and leave. On this proposed ordinance, the term eligible employee includes only merit status employees below the manager level who are not confidential employees of high-level managers. And as I stated, the red line portion of this employee organization resolution, it was just to change some of the terms and conditions as it relates to who is an eligible employee. And it was done in such a way that we didn't want 2 or 3 people to come together and say, we're an organization, we're a union, or we're a collective bargaining unit. So this allows a set number of people and defines who can actually be a part of being represented in DeKalb County. One of the good things we did do is that there is no dues checkoff as it relates to what goes on with this particular resolution or ordinance. And so I'm not sure how they would do that. I didn't really get into that about how they would do the dues checkoff, those kind of things. But it kind of gives us the policy so we can communicate with employees. That's basically what we're presenting.
Questions, Commissioners?
The element that affords them the
What section?
Section 2211, representation of eligible employees in merit system hearings. I guess currently any employee that is engaged in merit system hearing can obtain their own representation, but in this case, this would authorize the organization to do that.
As I understand that, and I'm going to ask Laura to come up to the table, we have, in our personnel rules, we have a list, sort of a list of people who can act as your representative, and in another part of the rule, we say it has to be an attorney, but it was not clear that people could designate their union rep to be a representative at a hearing.
Okay, so can you say who is eligible to represent employees at a merit system hearing?
Currently, the written hearing procedures only say that an appellant can have an attorney. It doesn't say they can have a representative who is not an attorney.
I see. So this simply allows them to have a broader opportunity for but this would then confine that to a representative of this group or just any representative? See what I'm saying is that this is for employee organizations. So then does this newly authorized representative have to be, involved with the employee organization, or could?
I think that's addressed in membership. Let me go back to it.
The policies in the HR department probably would be amended to allow non-attorney representatives, which would include an employee organization representative, but wouldn't necessarily be limited to one.
Wouldn't necessarily be what?
Wouldn't necessarily be limited to those employee organizations.
Okay.
So there'll be anybody to come in and talk on your behalf, your mom?
Well, and that's what
I think-
That hasn't
I'm
been
not
worked out as to
understanding.
the details.
Okay, well, what this seems to say is, subject to the terms and conditions of the merit system personnel requirements, a representative of an employee organization shall be permitted to represent and assist eligible employees who's an appellate in a merit system hearing. So it seems like it would limit it to someone that is affiliated with the employee organization. Is that fair?
If you look at the actual ordinance, it says, sort of more specifically, that an employee would be able to use an employee organization representative if that person's an attorney, which can already happen, or to the extent that the policies of HR give a process for an employee to designate a non-attorney as a representative. So we're on our way to trying to get a policy that would allow an employee to designate a non-attorney as a representative.
Okay.
Why would you want a non-attorney? I mean,
I think most of the union reps are non-attorneys.
why would you want a union rep versus an attorney in a hearing? I don't
We might not be able
understand
to
that.
afford one.
Yeah, because it could be part of your
Cost.
benefits for,
Put you on
dues. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can't get attorney representation from,
Can't get any free attorneys. No free attorneys. That's a rule.
what's legal
Wait a
aid?
minute, she said no free attorney.
I know there are free attorneys.
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know. I
So
mean, I'll
this-
be honest with you,
But we are going to have to do some work on the HR rules. There's a little inconsistency with what the HR rules say at this moment with this ordinance. And so if you do pass this ordinance, we're going to come back and make sure that everything is consistent in the HR rules.
So
can you tell me your goal, Commissioner, in doing this? I mean, we already have a police union, a fire union. What is the purpose
This
of
goal
it?
was just to actually put on paper that we're actually recognized. I don't think that we actually listen or they actually go before any boards or commissions that actually speak. So my goal was that they asked me to do it the first thing. That was my goal, to see if we get it done. But if it has to be concise and relates to HR, then maybe we should look at what HR has to say to make sure that we're compatible with what we need to get done. But we've had several people to come forward to ask for a representation. You've been at the meetings to see that, that they've been asking for.
Well, and, no one has come to ask me, and I appreciate that we all get asked different things, okay? That's no reflection at all, but I mean, the fire union was very successful in getting air packs for the firemen by coming and talking to a commissioner. And that's how they did it. So I'm just not really sure the purpose of this. If someone really wants something done, they'll come to us and ask. I'm not really sure why we have to recognize.
Well, what I'd like to do, Madam Chairman, is not stepping on my bounds, is that let's look at what HR has to say, and then at the appropriate time, if we have to vote it up and vote it down, I'll be fine. I mean, that's what we've done stuff in the past, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I'm just trying to really get understanding. I've read
Yeah.
it, but I'm really not sure why we're doing it.
Well, like I said, there have been some employees and some other people that come to me and ask me to do it.
And I hear you, I
Yeah,
respect that.
And there are organizations that we have right now that, from the FOP with Jeff Weeds and those people, they come and talk to me, yes. But it wouldn't just cover sanitation, we actually give each one of the employees an opportunity to be represented by the union if they so desire. And like I said, I would, instead of killing it or not voting on it or recommending a vote, I would say, let's get with HR and see what they have to say. And then at the appropriate time, just vote up and down like we do everything else. I'm fine with it. I understand democracy, I know. I can count votes.
So what would you like to do?
If Ms. Brantley said that she wanted to look at something with HR to make sure it's compatible with what we have to do going forward, I would ask the deferral until that time comes. But after she actually, or her department does the work, I would hope that the wisdom of the committee is just to allow it for up or down vote, and we can move on with other business of the DeKalb County.
One more
Okay,
question.
sure.
As it relates to the hour per month afforded for organizational meetings, is that is there any sort of standard of activity that would pertain? In other words, I would love to have an organization that met, Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Once a month, that was for self-reflection and meditation. I'm just wondering if we can ensure that there is a legitimate sort of organizational purpose for the meetings that we are giving people time off for.
And we can look at that and perhaps tighten that up. I did want to go back to...
And I don't think necessarily that's the intent of anyone, but, and particularly with our mainstream organizations, they'll have plenty of business to conduct within that hour. But then other folks that, may or may not want to be involved with that organization and particularly pay, the dues necessary to keep it up may, likewise want that hour off.
Right. We can look at that and see if we can tighten it up with stronger language on that point. I did want to go back to Commissioner Boyer's point and just to say that the essence of the ordinance is to force the administration to meet and confer with the unions. When we were drafting it, we really weren't thinking so much about the commissioners and whether they could get a meeting, but what the ordinance requires is that he direct human resources to be willing to sit and talk and hear the issues and concerns of the employees. So at its essence, it's a requirement to meet and confer with the employees.
I mean, again, personal opinion, I just think the administration should meet with any employee that has a problem. I don't think we need an ordinance to tell you to do that. It's worked for 20 years. I mean, I don't know. Just my personal opinion. So are we going to defer so we can move on, or what?
Yeah,
What would you like to do?
I just asked for deferral to make sure that HR complies with whatever we need to comply with the ordinance.
And then bring it back in 2 weeks?
Bring it back in 2 weeks, and like I said, if it's the will of the committee to vote up or down, I mean, I wear size 10 and a half. Okay. So, these shoes are on. I know how policy works.
All right, so we'll defer.
Win some, lose some, you do good, you do bad. So if we could defer it for the 2 weeks, Madam Chairman?
I will second that.
I'm sorry?
Just a second.
How does it fit with the merit system?
It only applies to merit employees.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And like most things, I made sure that we brought in some jurisdictional kinds of information from different cities, Fulton County, Atlanta, College Park, East Point, to make sure that we didn't just start anything from scratch. We kind of looked at what they were doing in other cities, like we do everything else, pension and healthcare.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll defer for 2 weeks and let you continue working on that.
Madam Chair, you have a motion on the table, by the way.
We do?
To recommend deferral 2 weeks.
Oh,
To
okay.
do the HR.
Okay, okay.
He motion, I said.
Second, okay, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
That's what I'm here for.
You're done.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, are we prepared to start talking about the contract for grading?
Well, I can report to you that the committee that then presiding officer, CEO May appointed has not met again with Grady, the corporation or the authority. And so I would, we're hoping to get, I think, a meeting on Friday to start that process. So I would recommend another 2 weeks deferral. Is it coming up at our next meeting?
It's scheduled to.
Okay, so I would recommend that we propose another 2 weeks deferral.
Okay.
And
I
if there's a report and we get something resolved before that meeting, we can certainly provide that information.
Ovi, you had a question or a statement?
I was just going to add to his report to say that our healthcare consultants have agreed to
Oh,
put
yeah, that too.
put me in touch with some of their attorneys to brainstorm about Affordable Care Act activities and how that fits in with the indigent
That's
care.
good,
And we
because
have-
I've been doing my own research, and I have a couple of recommendations of healthcare attorneys I was going to give to you. who
Okay, I'll
have been
take them.
recommended to me.
Okay.
Just to help us, because I feel like, and this is, again, just my own personal feeling, I don't want to negotiate against myself. This is an opportunity for DeKalb to actually negotiate from a protected standpoint, and it's a contract that's been 30 years, and times have changed, things have changed, and so I want to have someone who really understands the Affordable Health Care Act and can kind of guide us and direct us as we make, I would imagine we're going to have a deferral of some sort for the contract for a year or so, whatever we determine, but we need to have actual outside help, is my opinion, to try to help us understand where we're going.
Okay, well, we're starting with the help we've already hired.
Yes, that's a good thing.
And we have a conference call scheduled for this week, and they will begin to point me in the right direction, or point my thinking in the right direction, and then if we need other outside help, then we'll go in that direction. But I would love to receive those names.
Sure.
Madam Chair, quick question regarding kind of this actual resolution. The resolution is just asking for us to extend it over whatever period of time. I think the initial period was over the 2-year period. The attorney scenario that we're talking about is us looking at bringing in kind of outside counsel to help us to negotiate the ultimate new agreement. Is that what we're
If in fact we need an agreement, we don't know.
Well, whatever beyond the extension, would take us. So we're not looking at the attorney and that work to help us do anything within this extension period. Anything in preparation for the vote on this resolution.
Well,
is that what we're asking? Or
I mean, again, everybody has an opinion. Mine is to figure out, at least try to get some input before even negotiating that. We have until December 2013 before our contract runs out. I would just like to have some parameters of the Affordable Health Care Act. We may not even need to have an extension. I don't know what to expect or anticipate.
Okay.
And so I need someone who understands the Affordable Health Care Act inside and out, and can advise us on what we need to do.
Yeah, one thing we also probably need to do is to bring in, I don't know if it's bond counsel or the financial people, and talk about the realities of if there's not an extension with our bond indebtedness.
We'll still be
And that's what-
responsible, obviously.
Well, but there may be some outcomes as a result of that. The monies may be, I've heard that the monies may become due, whatever, that outstanding debt service is on that. I don't know that to be true. I'm just saying, we probably should get some professionals to figure out what the ramifications of not having that as well, so that can all be.
That's why you're full-time day-to-day.
That's right.
We'll let you figure that out.
I'm letting you know that. I'm saying that to say, next time you all meet, we'll
Have that figured out.
We'll have that figured out.
But I mean, I think they're two separate issues.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, the final outcome is,
Right.
Connects with something.
Zach, did you have a question?
I just want to make sure that we deliver what you're looking for, and the conversation that I've scheduled for Friday is going to be to talk about the game plan in the intervening time should the extension be granted. And so that would deal with
Our
how...
game plan for the next 2 years to determine whether or not we should enter into a new contract
Right.
and what the basic
Right.
framework of that contract should be.
Yeah, I know what you're saying and hear that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but
Okay.
I know what you're saying. Mine is, we may not need to enter into a contract.
Right.
Well, even that would be one of the sort of what we would be investigating within that
I mean, you
contract.
all can investigate it, but you're not professionals at the Affordable Health Care Act. There may be within the Affordable Health Care Act the ability that Grady will be able to be sustained without
Affordable Health Care
DeKalb,
Act.
Fulton, and Atlanta.
Paying
You
or
can't say
reducing,
that.
or reducing.
Whatever. I
Yeah.
have no clue. I'm not an expert. That's why I need an expert. So I don't think you all can determine that. That's why I'm suggesting we need outside counsel to determine what the Affordable Health Care Act is going to offer.
Yeah, I don't
DeKalb, Fulton, and
Yeah, I
Atlanta
think-
may not
yeah.
be in that picture. So I don't want to start negotiating against myself,
Right.
which is what y'all are talking about doing, kind of, sort
Yeah.
of.
We would use the consultant to help inform what we should or should not do.
So are they experts?
Yes, this would be the.
Well, I'm
folks
told that
that'll-
they have lawyers in their
Right.
firm.
So you're
who are
talking about Buck?
Yes.
Okay,
Or
That's the
someone-
starting point.
yeah, all right,
Yeah.
well, so in 2 weeks, maybe you'll have a better report and we can know where we're at.
Except I won't be present 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
I'll be out of town.
What are we
But
gonna do?
I know.
Do you want me to play a turn?
Yeah.
So they have FaceTime for you, I like that over there.
Are we gonna bring the board member or somebody from Grady that may have some places where to share with?
I would prefer not to get, again,
Outside the
negotiate against
southern person?
myself, yes.
Okay,
There was talk about them coming on the first meeting in
that's what I heard,
October.
yeah.
I mean, they're gonna come and pitch.
Okay, yeah.
Do we want them to come and pitch first meeting in October?
I mean, I'll leave it up to the board members. I would say no because I'm negotiating against myself, but that's just me. I don't need a pitch. I need somebody to really tell me.
To tell you what's going on.
What's going on. And I don't believe that they're gonna do that. It's not in their best interest to do that. So it's up to
Based on
you
those
guys.
names, one of the
I mean, I'm
first,
just
yeah.
one.
Well, I mean, I had already offered the motion to defer action on this extension for 2 weeks. And then in the next week, I'm hoping at least to get a better idea for my own benefit as to what the corporation and the authority want to do over the next 2 years so that we can come to a conclusion over that period of time if we want to continue a Grady relationship, and if we do, what its focus should be in indigent healthcare. So I'm looking forward to that. That will help me to determine whether or not I would vote for the extension. And if I can get that, I'm closer to the point at which I'm willing to vote. And so, you know, again, we'll ultimately have to make the decision on this. The contract is not over until the end of the year. But I think that it makes sense to figure out whether or not we're going to be party to it, because if the contract is going to end, we probably need to unwrap it or unwind it somewhat to.
Well, and that's why I'm hoping we can get some guidance and direction. And I can't answer that.
Well, you can make a current motion.
He's made a motion to defer for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Would you like a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? We'll defer. Then can I just ask OB, once you talk to them, can you kind of at least, you know, maybe give us some idea of what their time frame might be to be able to help answer these questions? I mean, we have the original planning contract they could start with, and then go from there and see.
Sure.
All right, then, let's see. So next, I guess it is that we have Larry and Paul. I saw Larry here. Hey, how are you?
Fine, good afternoon. Madam Chair, before we start, I want to recognize our Cigna rep that's here with us today, Terry Pitt, and she's our account manager here with Cigna, and just wanted to recognize she's here today. And also, we're following up from our meeting 2 weeks ago with basically a status report.
Good to see you.
Yeah, and the committee charged us with giving some study to moving the current calendar year plan to a mid-year plan. Also charged with giving study to marketing the current group health plans for a January 1, 2014 renewal date. There's probably a third option in there also. Also, Mr. Williams asked us to look at ways to have a flat renewal with the current incumbent vendors. Right now, it's projected that the increase, if we did nothing else, would be around 7.5%. But Robert and team are going to go back to the current vendors and say, what would we need to do to come back with no increase, a partial increase, 50% of the projected 7.5%. And what we'd have to do to have no increase, and then also what would it look like if we just took this projected 7.5% increase and kept our current plans and plan designs. So having sort of recapped what we believe you charges were doing, we'll let Robert kind of bring us up to speed on those efforts to that end.
Good afternoon.
Hey, how are you?
Fine, thank you. So, after we left the meeting the last time, we was pretty clear to us the direction that we needed to go in, and it's really multiple approach, and that is taking a look at incremental opportunities for the current 1/1 renewal in terms of finalizing the rates, finalizing opportunities to mitigate any renewals or plan increases to the program, as Mr. Jacobs shared with you. Taking a look at the various options from that standpoint, but also long-term, taking a look at the various renewal periods. In other words, looking at a mid-year renewal period, looking at it if we kept it still on a 1/1 year. And in that process, looking at opportunities to promote health improvement, promote wellness, cost containment, looking at all the different avenues across the whole board. So we are collecting information on a spectrum of opportunities, if you will. And when we come back in the next meeting, we will have a detailed reporting, if you will, of the financial implications and opportunities around those opportunities, as well as quantification and qualification of the risks and rewards, if you will, around the implementation and potential outcomes of those different features, if you will. Since we last met, we've also met with the incumbents and shared the direction that you've given us in terms of what your expectations are, as we understood it, and in terms of the direction that we walked away with of where you want to take the health plan, the medical plan specifically, again, developing a culture of health, a culture of wellness, long-term cost containment and sustainability, and improvement for the employees and families of DeKalb County. So that's where we are. We're in the middle of this. We're in the process of really, again, a number of parallel tasks, focusing on the 1/1 renewal, which is obviously right in front of us, and taking a look at some of the semantics and logistics that are involved with that process, including open enrollment, finalizing the budget for 1/1, finalizing of those rates. So when we come back to you, again, we will have items for you to ask questions on, obviously, and during the next meeting to be able to make decisions on it, if that is appropriate, if you will.
Commissioners? Jeff?
So you're just laying out your game plan.
Right.
I understand what you're saying.
And just to share with you that, again, we are in the middle of having, again, we have formalization of ideas, and we're in the process of modeling this out. It's really early for us to share anything before our next
That's the
meeting.
game plan.
I think that'll be October 8th, Commissioner.
Okay.
And I guess we would like to stress that date as currently, if we were to have a 1/1 renewal, October 8th would be the last opportunity for the board to approve rates for the next year, with open enrollment starting October 15th.
So would that be a special call meeting?
We'd have to do, the only thing I think was a walk-on agenda item.
I don't think that's a regular voting meeting.
Yeah, it's the second Tuesday.
Is it?
I think
I'm not looking at the calendar.
So your next meeting would be the October the 1st, the 8th would be the board meeting.
So
The 1st is your committee meeting.
Okay.
The 8th would be the BOC.
So it is a BOC, okay.
That would be the final BOC.
First is my
They can
birthday, by the way.
They can
so
present to
that's-
FAB, they can
He said
present to
that was
ERCS
Is it
on the
really?
1st.
That's for 2 weeks, his birthday.
Yeah. Is that a
For the whole
second?
meeting, actually.
Okay, so we'll do
Okay.
that.
Any direct questions about what I've shared with
I
you?
mean, I think we pretty much laid it out. We're just
Mhm.
waiting for you to come
Yeah,
back.
Right.
Okay.
The scenarios would obviously be dependent upon changes in the plan design, right?
Incremental plan design, looking at different programmatic offering composition. So, for example, utilization of high-performance networks, looking at patient-centered medical homes that are driving value and, again, are being attached to health improvement, wellness, again, the central theme that we walked away from this last meeting, and what you impressed upon us, taking a look at, again, how can we drive long-term value and cost.
The 2014, the three scenarios for 2014, status quo, no increase in cut, increase in
Those are
cut.
looking at increase, so to answer your question directly, Commissioner, yes, we're looking at various plan design options in terms of how do we get to half and zero, so to speak.
But they're primarily going to be financial tools as opposed to programmatic tools. It seems as though, do you think that?
We're also looking at, to be candid with you, in terms of mitigating the actual cost, yes, there are financial tools, but I think we would be remiss to say that we aren't also considering looking at programmatic features that would help us along the way. I think that if there are things that we can implement 1/1/14 that are not disruptive necessarily or completely disruptive, that makes sense with the larger theme, we obviously will recommend that to the board, and we are considering some of those options sooner than later.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, Madam
Anything
Chair,
else?
I guess I should ask, does the committee at this point have any questions about a 1/1/2014 renewal versus a mid-year renewal? Pros and cons, if there's any interest in discussing that?
Well,
I thought we were.
I had understood that in any event, you have to have some sort of an event on 1/1 because the prior plan expires at that point. So there would be a potential for some transitional period between 1/1 and 7/1, right? So that's what we were expecting.
And that's where we'll be prepared to share with you, so how do we get from 1/1, if the decision's made to go with a 7/1 new plan year, if you will, so how do we go from 1/1 to 7/1, so to speak?
Okay, thanks.
We just can't wait for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we want to arm you with all the information, but of course, we're kind of eager for, and we're ready to go whichever direction that the board sees fit. I guess, speaking from staff, we'd rather get a decision sooner rather than later, whatever it is, so that we can gear up for, whichever way the committee sees fit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that we've said
We're anticipating the
several
report.
times that we had, our goal is to go to the 7/1 plan year. And so the quicker you can tell us what the transitional period looks like, the sooner we can confirm that that's what we would propose to the commission that we do.
Now, I have to ask Mark, now, given that scenario, is it still feasible to have renewal rates for either scenario by prior to October 8th?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The key will be, again, and I apologize if I'm being repetitive, is finalizing 1/1, which is right in front of us, but then how do we get from 1/1 to 7/1?
Right. And I would anticipate that you would have rates for 1/1 that would be good for 6 full months. And then you would have an election sometime in May or June for a 7/1 plan year. Isn't that kind of the way that?
That's certainly an option that you've laid out very eloquently in terms of, that is certainly a pliable situation, a plausible situation.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 weeks.
Can I chime in just for a second? For the committee's sake, has this committee decided absolutely that they want a July 1 open enrollment period in perpetuity? Or is that still up for discussion with that? I just kind of want to see where the committee is.
I mean,
Just wanna hear
again,
it.
y'all, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
We're waiting to see how
We just
that
want to
would
see it
look.
works, yeah.
Right. Okay, so
But
look.
we kind of like the idea.
But yeah, no,
Well,
and
I
we
think that
discussed
the
it. and
big
I think
issue
it has
is
its
if that
merits.
transitional period is somehow so disruptive
Yeah.
that it can't be done, then that would be the impediment. I don't think that it in any way undermines the attractiveness of a 7/1 plan year, because the 7/1 plan year then allows the, plan design and all of the work that we have to do on a policy level to be done coincident with our budget process.
Right, your budget be already affected.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think both, and we kind of had an elaborate conversation about the pros and cons with it, and the question is, because I clearly see the pro in that, with that, but, the question is, does that pro outweigh the cons?
The biggest con is going to be how disruptive it is.
Yeah.
If it's going to cost us an supportable amount of money, or if it's going to, if the deductibles and that sort of a thing are going to be.
But also some of the actual, realities of how it would affect the employees as well in terms of, the pension rates when, any adjustments that are made, through the pension rates are typically done at the, the beginning of the year. So you may have a situation where healthcare and pension rates will adjust at different times of the year, so the paychecks would be connected to that. And also, for example, there may be a situation where I'm on my spouse's insurance plan and they're on a calendar year, and then we're in July. There may be a scenario in terms of figuring out, and I don't know if that question has been answered yet. Will I have to be on two different policies, for about 6 months to do that? So, but
hopefully it'll bring that back to us.
But if there's a scenario where this plan becomes more attractive than my spouse's, and I want to ultimately switch, logistically, how would that work?
Well, that's a major event type of initiative, isn't it?
It's not considered a life event, and we discussed that a little bit. And in reality, many employees do have a spouse that has a calendar year, plan year, and during our open enrollment, they're also evaluating their spouse's open enrollment and seeing which plan fits their financial needs.
During open enrollment period, yes.
And they often switch back and forth. We'll get an employee last year that will say, hey, Larry, my spouse's plan is cheaper this year. Next year, they'll come back to us when their spouse's plan goes up. If we have a mid-year renewal, they lose that option. They can only change plans during their spouse's open enrollment or our open enrollment period, and to the extent they no longer match, unless they have a change in family status, a death, a divorce, a birth, they can't change plans.
We'll wait to hear.
That's one of the unintended consequences, but we can put together more
No,
detailed
I agree.
list.
I think that you would put that in the cons.
Right.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll just make our fiscal year so that we could have the.
Bingo.
There we go.
Bingo.
Okay, we go get Christmas cards on the place.
Signal. We're not talking pension.
I have reasons. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about pension.
Are we?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Let's see.
I'll check.
No.
I don't think so, yeah. We could go ahead. Do you have anything from HR?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, anything new business?
You want to do pension control briefly?
Thank you.
Well, I mean, give
We
you
just said we didn't have any, yes. No.
When do you want to do that? Just out of curiosity.
So we're not gonna do pension today, we'll next time
Next
around?
time.
Next time.
Man,
I wanna
I know
make
you're
sure we-
excited to hear
The
about it.
next time is gonna be so exciting. All these
Lots
cool
and lots.
things.
Are we inviting, what's his name, Ed Walls to come?
We should, yeah.
Can we do
We
that?
reach out to Ed just to hear our pension discussion. Ed's here.
And can we ask him also, when we discuss it, if he could talk about real estate investments as a new thing for us as well?
He does.
Ask him if we
Okay.
can, if you so desire. Okay.
Okay, I think we're dismissed.
We good?
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, so Ms. O'Lee, you'll go back to HR for me, so my chairman won't beat me up.
Yes.